Today's date is September 24, 2017. My title is What's Wrong with Hebrews? I'll read here from Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 8. Their land also is full of idols. They worship the work of their own hands, which their own fingers have made. So the Most High is here saying that the land had just become overrun with idols. Idolatry was really big. The Israelites had just gone, over the deep end, and it's no wonder that we read of the many warnings in the scriptures about how they had profaned his Sabbath and his name, and they were ignoring the commandments and so on, because it's like what we see today. Israelites are in captivity and they're believing all kinds of strange things, and even when we say we return to the commandments because now we found out that the descendants of slaves are the Israelites, we still have so much strange doctrines and strange practices that we attach with the scriptures. And we have not yet learned how to drop those off, the same as when our forefathers came out of Egyptian bondage. And they were in the wilderness for about 40 years, and they had all these practices that they just didn't drop off. And it's the same thing here, where we've got all kinds of strange things and beliefs because we don't have the mindset of the Torah that we beat our chest about. And these practices and beliefs have come from the worship of false gods, the teachings of false gods that we took on. So the changing of the Israelite mind to doing things against the scriptures came as a result of idolatry, in large part. Because the teachings that come with idols have beliefs and practices that keep you locked in to those idols. And we know they were doing it a whole lot, like worshipping these idols a whole lot, for the land to have become overrun with the idols. World leaders and kings of ancient times knew that religious information or spiritual thought was the key to zombifying human beings. Now, as I get into it, it is clear to me on my own personal journey to find the Most High that even within the Hebrew Israelite community, there are teachers who teach strange teachings and who would almost swear on their life that this is the right thing that they're doing when they mistreat other Hebrews. They will lie about the doctrines, they lie about the history of their own camp, their own movement. They will go behind the scenes and try to undermine you. These people, from my impression, from what I learned, because I don't know any of these people personally, but from what I've learned in the past 3.5 years after leaving the Christian church, is that there is this core group of neo-ancient Israelite camp teachers who make it their business to pronounce that they are the only ones who should teach the Most High, and that they are the only ones who have the word right. And anytime anyone gets up as a new person leaving the Christian church, for instance myself, to teach anything else, they launch an attack on this person in very clever ways that the general public of Israelites online cannot always see. They're behind the scenes an expert group of biblical mercenaries that will do anything to block or stop the progress of those people who will get up and speak, and also stop the progress of other people who are listening to these newer people that the Most High is bringing in, because the Most High didn't just call one person. Israelites are just supposed to teach. Every Israelite was supposed to teach somebody else. Like, even if you look in the family, you're told to teach your own children. So you're still teaching. You might not be a priest or a scribe, but you're still. Right? So every Israelite is supposed to have a voice. But these core group of neo-ancient guardians of God's righteousness and identity make it their business to stifle and discredit anyone else who would get up and dare speak for the Most High, because they just want to share something that's in their heart as well. After you've been in the Christian religion for so many years from you were a child, now you finally find the truth. Some of us may want to be a little more vocal about it, and so they might start to teach as well, and some feel more driven than others to do that kind of teaching. If you are one who feels that driven, you are going to be treated like the prophets in the Old Testament who were fought against and hated and so on. And you just have to have that kind of tough skin, as they say, to say to yourself, you're just going to keep doing this. And it doesn't matter. I mean, if they take my videos of YouTube or wherever, I'll just upload them again or just find some other avenue. Because these neo-ancient camp people who breed out false teachers like flies swarming around some bad food, they act like the views that they get from YouTube is the proof that God is with you. But we see that even Moses was called at a time when there were not thousands or millions of Hebrews around him. He got his real umph and drive to step out into public life, public ministry, might I say. In the backside of a desert, he saw a burning bush, the scripture says. So to be called and to step out does not necessarily come after it is shown that thousands of people are with you. You can tell by their language and the choice of words and the build up to certain words. By the time they mention a certain word, it's like you can tell they're all of the same stock, all of the same group, because it's like they've cultured the whole group in a zombie-like fashion so that they have learned how to function the same kind of way, and they just flow with it. And they're going to get to a certain point of mentioning a certain thing and so on after a certain amount of communication. As another one of these Messiah teachers from a different camp have said that I found just last night, that these non-messianics are popping up everywhere, and you got that right. Because I've said it before, the Most High said he's going to smash all the gods of the earth. And when it comes to this deception of this 2,000-year-old Messiah, he's going to smash him as well. And as the time draws closer, more and more people are going to rise up and voice the deception about this Mashiach. So you're going to find more and more people aren't simply going to know it and just be aware, but are going to begin to voice it. So they're not going to stop. No matter who they knock down and whatever, more are just going to rise up. And those of us who are teaching against this Mashiach, get up and do it again and keep doing it. If you care about your people, the deception of your people, and if you can see that your people entered into transgressions by not following the Most High because they chose other gods and were in captivity, don't stop the fight. Do it for yourself. Do it to bring out what's in your heart that the Most High has placed in your heart. And do it for your people. Your people who were given these instructions by the Most High. It's written in Scripture that it was given to us. So do it, and don't let them scare you. Don't let them make you afraid to the point where you are not doing anything. These people in the Bible who were doing things for the Most High. Sometimes they did get afraid. Sometimes they did get tired. But the important thing was that they went ahead and they did it anyway. That's what made a prophet be a prophet. That's what made a prophet be known. That's what. Because if they never went ahead and did it, they would not have been known, because nothing would have been said of them because they never did it. You're reading about people like Jeremiah, because no matter how much people came against him, he still got the job done. He opened his mouth and he spoke the words of the Most High against the evildoers, some of whose descendants are still around today, acting like they are Hebrew Israelites, in the most illustrious garments that not even Walmart will sell. So these teachers in Israel that teach the lies are just like the kings of the earth today and of the ancient kings and rulers who knew that religious information that they made up was the way to control people. Like you've heard it said, religion is the opium of the masses. So world leaders and kings of ancient times knew that religious information or spiritual thought was the key to zombifying human beings. If you teach people anything by communicating it in a spiritual context, people who listen to you long enough become pets who salivate at the mention of your name, and you can even tell them not to obey the Creator / Elohim of Israel, and they will do whatever you say, because the key has been turned. Notice as well, most Israelite teachers curse the Christian church for taking money from people they teach about God. But they themselves now expect you to give them money on all their websites, blogs, or online social media websites, because no one is allowed to learn about God for free in our world. If the land was filled with idols, as in Isaiah 2 verse 8, it means the leaders or well-known priests, kings, scribes, famous prophets taught daily, but not once in a while like every few months, but daily, because the land was filled, so it was something that was being done over time, might I say. So these leaders taught daily the knowledge of idol worship that negated the commandment of the Most High to know only Him. As He has said so many times in His word, I am the only Elohim. But Hebrew Israelites today curse the Christian church for teaching an Elohim called Jesus, and then come and tell you to worship an Elohim called Yahawashai, which is a word not found in any Hebrew dictionary on earth, because they made up that word in order to let you not see that it is Jesus they are talking about, which they cursed the Christian church for worshiping such an Elohim. They, in turn as well, publicize a black Jesus under the secret agent codename Yahawashai, so that the gullible will not connect him easily in full manner with the white-looking European Jesus of the same New Testament text that they use, which bears the same history of this person, the same stories, the same miracles, the same death, the same resurrection, the same Roman soldiers, the same everything. Now, if these same Hebrews would see someone else having a book like the Old Testament, and they just changed one or two minor things, but in general the whole thing remains the same, they would tell that other religion, you plagiarized it. Just like they say about Islam, oh, you stole that from the Torah. But They don't want you to tell them that they are teaching a black Yahweh Shai from the white Jesus that is in the same New Testament. Or they will curse the living daylights out of you until you think God hates you. So we find these Old Testament Israelites whose descendants are still alive today, teaching many other Hebrews to know a Calvary-hung Messiah in addition to the Elohim of Israel, which is forbidden, of course, by the commandments of the Most High, as I will read here now from Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3. Thou shalt have no other Elohim before me. And I've pointed out a number of times before in my other videos that people all over the earth in large numbers know that the New Testament character that was crucified on Calvary, by whatever name you make up for him, Jesus, Jesus, Yahweh Shai, Yahushua, and so on, the world over knows that this New Testament character hung on a tree is an Elohim that is worshipped on the earth by many people who know about him and love him. So the earth knows that this New Testament character, referred to as the Mashiach in error, is an Elohim. If he is an Elohim, then he is another Elohim. So when they teach that the Creator made him first as the first spirit in creation and then he made everything else, it is still a lie, because if he made him, that means he is a second Elohim or another Elohim. Because if he's making him, then he is made. But since the Creator himself was not made, then that which is made has to be a different or additional Elohim. So even if the Creator created him, which he did not, the commandment still forbids you from worshiping him, because he is a second, additional, or another Elohim. And the commandment says from the Creator who you said made him, said, thou shalt have no other Elohim, which could then mean thou shalt have no created Elohim before me. You shall not choose any created Elohim or any type of Elohim other than myself. This commandment forbids the Israelite from having anything to do with this New Testament character that was crucified on a tree or a cross. And you get these smart Israelites that try to battle and say, oh, he wasn't crucified on a tree and so on, as if that bears them any good. I've got a lesson coming up on whether he was crucified on a tree or not. So the commandment says, don't have anything to do with this Elohim. And some of the most skilled Hebrew scholars who are teachers among us, and some of the most skilled Hebrew word makeup teachers among us who make up their own Hebrew words, they cannot see that in your head, what you think that makes you teach this Elohim is really a deception. Because on the ground, he is an Elohim that makes one break the commandment that says, do not have any other Elohim. Notice that in Exodus 20, the fake son, who you call the Mashiach from Calvary, is never called on to pronounce even one of the commandments that Moses received. Even one. He is never asked to give one. Even though the Baal Hebrew Israelite idolaters teach that this Roman God of Nazareth made everything, even humans, and as their John chapter 1 says, without him was not anything made. Yet he refused to give even one commandment to Moses, as his supposed father was giving out all the rest. He refused to give even one commandment to Moses to pass on to the children of Israel. When the very idea in Torah that stands out to us lets us know that the commandments are given by the Elohim that makes himself clearly identifiable and known in Scripture. He's always coming in through prophets, always sharing His word through prophets, always, always, always. So He does not give you a chance in Torah to think that He is very silent or that He only speaks a little. But this particular Elohim sees all these commandments, these 10 commandments as we refer to, and for others of us who say there are 613, like I said, I've never counted them myself, but let's say there are 613 commandments. 613 are dropping on the Hebrews' laps. And this Son, who you say is Elohim, He made man, as you say, and He never gave them one of the commandments. Never gave them one. So, none of the Psalm 147, 19 to 20 children of Jacob were aware that the Son, so-called, gave the commandments to Israel. They were only aware of the Most High / the Creator giving the commandments. They weren't aware of this particular deity from the Roman God of Nazareth giving the commandments to Israel. But as soon as they found this out, 2,000 years ago, that He was the one who gave them the commandments and created them. As soon as they found this out 2,000 years ago when He showed up, the Romans killed them. This then shows any surviving wandering Israelites moving through Africa that receiving of Torah commandments is associated with national slaughter, not with blessing and promise. Whereas the Elohim of the Old Testament, who showed up at Sinai, showed that the giving of the commandments were associated with blessings as they were able to move into new territories and new lands and got lots of blessings. But the other God of the New Testament, the Roman God of Nazareth, when you receive His commandments and you identify it is Him, as He said Himself, it is I, as soon as you realize it is quote-unquote I, you get killed by your enemies. But we must still find it in our hearts to resist passionately these culprits of Torah theft, for they steal from the hearts of our children of the future the true knowledge of the Creator, who Himself said, I am the only Elohim of Israel, and there is no other. So His own words testify that He had no everlasting Son living in heaven who sat eerily silent thousands of years on a small chair beside His Father, as Revelation seems to tell us, only to die the first time He got up out of that chair to do something of consequence in what you call Palestine today. As for these malformed Israelite teachers with large followings, who their own Messiah cursed on the merit of a broad way with many views, they are sadly blinded, only made momentarily happy by the fabulous support idolaters receive worldwide since ancient times. Because teachers of idolatry were usually well supported by the blindness and the frenzy of others who flocked to their teachings of unrighteousness. These teachers are low-level Hebrews, a base form of an Israelite, the dregs of Jacob. Like myself, may your quest, your journey to find the Most High, lead you to Him.